to say that with everything going on, it's really kind of gotten to me to the point where I don't want to say I'm depressed. I think that when we find out the reality to things, it just kind of makes us step back a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out ways of not only just following my dreams, but staying true to who I am. I used to make videos always about being alone, because it's true. I am always alone. And I don't want to necessarily give up on my dreams. I want to keep trying. I want to have hope. It's just really hard. So I always go back to the same thing. It's just what makes us passionate. What makes us go? What makes us keep going? I know we all have something different, but I mean, that's just what I get. Like, what makes us just really be like, what makes me forget about time, space, reality, and not just a book or a movie. I mean, getting off my ass and creating something, and it is doing these things. And I know that, you know, since I've moved here, it also has me detached, in a sense where when I am doing something passionate, I am emotionally detached from all of these other life big problems. And I used to find comfort in somebody else taking that from me, like in the sense that I would depend on them to pull me out of it and having to be alone. But one thing I did notice is that I feel more detached when I'm following and I'm in my alignment. When I'm in my alignment, why did I even say that? I wasn't talking about alignment, but I guess I am talking about alignment. When I'm in my alignment is when I'm in my passion stage.
Oh, is she dead?
Flow, whatever you want to fucking call it. And then the rest of it kind of just doesn't necessarily fade, but it just gives me something more to focus on. And I think that's what meditation did. And I stopped meditating for a little bit. I really need to get back to it. When I meditate, going back to what I was saying, I think I made a video on this already. I should probably make another one. I don't want to really make this video about that, but I do have scenarios in my head that I like to play out whenever I can't just get into that higher level, because sometimes I do struggle with that. I feel like my ego is pulling me down, and it just does some things in my brain. It's not like physical, it's not like I'm rewired or anything. It's just, it won't allow me to get to wherever it is. It just kind of pulls me down again. And I don't like that. So sometimes I just get frustrated and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna visualize something, a scenario, a situation. And I've noticed that sometimes when I do that, and I'm open to see it, right? Okay, an example. I can visualize having a home and having somebody there to watch my cats so I can go off and travel. And then all of a sudden now where I'm going to is a home where someone is like, yes, I'll watch your cats while you go and travel. And I'm like, oh my God, I kind of got what I wanted. Another thing I've noticed whenever I meditate is that when I'm feeling lost with whatever it is that I'm dealing with, I could be feeling lost with what direction am I going, how to make decisions. I'm indecisive. Except when I know what I want. When I know what I want, I don't care. I know what I want. It does help me feel like this isn't a wrong decision, because is there really a wrong? I mean, I guess there's some wrong decisions, but it just feels a little bit easier to trust the decision that I make, because I don't feel like I'm doing it alone. I feel like there is somebody with me. I feel like there's somebody with me all the time. And I don't mean the guy, you know, the person the call is coming from inside the house. I just feel like I'm not alone, and the direction that I'm making, or the decisions that I'm making towards the directions, aren't bad. So with this move, even though it feels like, because society tells us we always have to move up. It has to be bigger. It has to be brighter. It has to be thinner. It has to be younger. It doesn't feel like that when it's coming from a meditative state. And that decision I make, even though according to society, it feels like I'm downgrading, I know I'm not downgrading. I know this is allowing me more to go higher and higher. I mean, I ask myself, like, why don't I get things? Let me start that over. I ask myself, like, why don't I get things like blink of an eye? Because I feel like that's what all of us want. We all just want it in the blink of an eye. We just, okay, well, if you're so blah, 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 then why don't you have it already? If you can really tell the future, then why don't you tell your own future? Well, that's a whole other story there, but I don't think we're supposed to. That's the thing. We're not supposed to. And I think that's why whenever people are like, oh, manifest, you're still supposed to enjoy the journey of getting there. And I think a lot of us forget that this is where I came from. Everybody has their story. When you go to your interviews, it can be like, and then it just all of a sudden appeared. Have you guys seen You Can't Translate? Can you translate this love? And the person just like woke up from a coma and all of a sudden she's famous. It's really not like that. I don't know if it ever is with anybody. I think it just really becomes like that once you really have the strong inner faith in you, and then that's when we all struggle. So you can't really look at a person and say, well, if this is true, then why isn't it already happening? Well, because we all got our own fucking shit to deal with. We all got our own fucking inner trauma and demons and blocks that we have to take care of, and half the time we don't even know what they are either. So you can't really look at someone or judge the situation, because a lot of the times what I've noticed is that when you just switch your perspective, you'll see that you already had it. And that's when I was just like, oh shit, I already had it. I am getting what I want. I really did wish for someone to help me watch my cats and to be in a home and to not be alone. Even though it is hard in a transition from being alone to not being alone, but I made a video on that too. I don't know, sometimes I think that we all make our New Year's resolutions to be so shallow that I never actually made one to say, actually for the whole year or for a whole month, I'm gonna make it a habit to only think positive. And I do want that money, that jar. I should really get it. And every time I have a negative thought, put my money in there. Maybe I should separate a bank account, like a different savings account, and name it in my app, like negative thoughts. So whenever I have one, I can just transfer it on my phone. It'd be kind of scary though, because it'd be like, you're out of transfers, free transfers. I really wanted to make this video because sometimes I don't think we all understand that there's a lesson to be learned. I myself included. I think that, well, they make it sound so easy that you just think a happy thought. And why isn't it happening? I'm doing something wrong. But maybe I'm just not, I guess I'm not allowing myself to understand that I don't know everything. That there's still more that I need to learn about myself. And that it's all gonna be okay. I think it's all gonna be okay when I keep following my passion. That's the only time I feel good. I love my job. I love my job. Another name drop for another spirit guide is Henry and Scott. I love Henry and Scott. I love everything that they bring to me in the table. I don't know where these names came from. I think I need to work on my faith in them, that they know what they're doing, and they have always provided, even though I get anxiety and I get stressed, and then I turn around and I'm like, why was I always stressed? I have the same stress now that I did 5 years ago. And I'm like, but look, everything is still fine. It's working itself out, even when you were scared the most. Even just recently, like my world kind of just got shucken up in a little snow globe, and in one day I didn't have my job, and then all of a sudden my lease ran up and I was in another country, and I come home and I'm like, shit, I gotta go home and deal with this. And then I do, and then I got the exact same job back, but higher pay, like literally 3 days later. So it was just crazy that, I don't know. I'm just gonna end the video. This is just a bit of a clusterfuck. So I'm moving on with this one. I'll talk to you guys later.